Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and this will be a 6-month review of my solar install and me using solar, not solely, but partially to help supplement my energy usage. Now, I had a good friend go through and help me run some of the data with this, and I really appreciate that, Patrick, being able to go through and calculate some of the data out, and I'll show you some of the graphs that or a graph that he created as well, and then the table. Just being able to see kind of a little bit about how the usage is going. He did percentage of light and all that fun stuff. I also will show you some of my end phase data as well, so you can see and go through and make some decisions for yourself if you're deciding to go solar. Now, I did go in with all energy solar for my solar install, and if you're in one of the states um, that they work in, feel free to jump on the link below. I'm one of their solar ambassadors as well. I signed up for the program early on, and anybody can sign up for that program. So if you're looking at promoting solar as well, feel free to sign up. They do give certain things back to you if you get somebody to go through, get a quote, and or actually go through with an install. So just keep that in mind as you go through this video. Overall, you can review the last two videos of what I think of all energy solar, and I'll probably put a few things in here as well. Um, First off, we just got through with winter, right? Even though I said this is a 6-month review, 9 months ago is when I actually got this installed. So as you're looking with the data here, um, you're kind of see some of those things kind of play out here of things that I could actually have done better. So if we're jumping over to my end phase, as you see today, um, here it does a little bit of data, right? It says, my power generated. This is on my status page. I have, latest power is nothing being generated. It's, dusk out. And the peak power today is 4.3 kilowatts. And that's pretty good, right? We're still in early April here, and I don't expect too much to be generated. And today was a very cloudy day overall. And I generated about 17.6 kilowatt hours. You can see yesterday was a little bit worse. And you can see all my micros inverters are good, and your devices up over here are the gateway is good, and that's kind of nice to see at a glance. Now you can go through and see what your solar equivalent is. This is just kind of interesting little data. I don't really follow it that much. I'm more interested in how many kilowatt hours was generated and basically how well did my solar panels do that day. And so you can just jump through this. So if we jump over into energy now, you can kind of see, here's my day and here's kind of how it went. And if I go to the day before, right, nothing actually great, right? We had a little bit more sun at the end of the day, and right now I know I can generate much more than this in a day. If we go to weekly, you can kind of see, let's see, last week, March 28th, I was generating 35.1 kilowatt hours. So this week has been a lot cloudier. We've had some snow in the last week. We've had, a couple days of snow, some rain. So it's April showers, right? Season. So it hasn't been a lot of sun here, but you can see if we were to do it, even in late March, we're generating 35 kilowatt hours a day if it's sunny here in Wisconsin, which is that's pretty good overall. If we go back and just take a look at what we kind of generated monthly here, you can kind of see last month we even got up to 36. Then in March there was uh, 36 kilowatt hours, 35. The beginning of March here we're in 33s, and we're in 28. So now that we're in April, I do expect that if we do get some days and it's not so cloudy, that this will pick up as well. 553.2 kilowatt hours were generated in the month of March, where in April here we are at 61.4. So if we were to jump to the year, you can kind of see, right? June, the end of June is when I got started, and the solar was on, and then July I had a whole month, and wouldn't you know it, I remember last July it was like a little bit cloudier all that month. I'm going, June, May and June were just awesome, just bright sunny months here in Wisconsin. For some reason, when July hit, you get your solar panels installed, you're really excited, and it gets cloudy. But that's going to average out over time and go from there. But you can see here we've already generated 1.3 megawatts this year, and or megawatt hours, and last year we generated 3.6 megawatt hours in the last half of the year. If you take a look, you'll see that we had 229 kilowatt hours in the month of December, and November was 300, right? You can kind of see how it dips here, October, September. From September to October, that's your biggest dip. And so I expect that one of these months, as you see here, January to February was a pretty big jump as well. So January was 219, where February was 436. Now, it's going to average every single year, year to year, right? We know that. But one thing I learned, and one thing I bought to fix this already, is that even though they say that they should clear themselves with snow, they don't do a good enough job. I have black and black panels, as you can go and see, and the problem with that is that we had actually a colder January and February. We had a pretty cold year, just not a lot of snow overall compared to the year prior. But that snow that did land on the panels did not clear as fast as I would have liked. We had a lot of cold days, and it just never melted off. And so the panels that were clear produced some energy, and the panels that didn't, man, that was pretty painful. So in doing that, it's been okay. How do I clear them off? I did go and buy a 22-foot pole along with a foam. They call it like a foam cleaner. And if you guys are interested, maybe I'll do a review of that. I'll try to remember to post links to it. It was from a company in Michigan that they get them in from other companies and they just ship them out. And I got that in February. And once I started clearing it out, those panels cleared a lot faster. As long as I got, partial of the panel cleared off, the next day or that same day after it snowed, it would clear off, and I was able to produce much more energy after that snow. So, in November and December, as this page will refresh, I should have December, January, February, I should have much better numbers going forward, because the middle of February is when I got that, and my numbers started to tick up a little bit better at that time. So here we go. You can see the lifetime, right? And as I get more, this will happen. But here's what my array kind of looks like. Here you can kind of see this is my year. They're kind of pretty much average. Now that we're getting more sun, these, on the left are going to get much more sun. The trees are right around here, and they block all the morning of these solar panels, which is painful, right? And that's one other thing that's going to happen, is that over time, those trees will start being cleared out, and it'll help me produce better energy, right? And I like trees, right? I like to see them growing. However, these trees do have disease, and they're very close to, especially my house. So as they have disease, you don't want the the downsides if one were to fall down on your house, and they're very close to my neighbor's house. So we kind of need to clean those up just to be on the safe side, right? You don't want something happening with trees that are 50 feet tall, 60 feet tall, someplace in that range. So they'll be put to good use, but trees that have disease in them, you have to kind of take care of them. But that's actually going to help my solar production as well, and we'll see over time how that actually affects it when these trees get down. And hopefully by the next video, I'll have some data for you on that as well. But that's really kind of going through here on the end phase side of things, and just how it's going overall. I'm very impressed. Now, I'm going to keep, just go back to this data so you can kind of look at it here. But jumping in, and I'm going to flash up a graph here that my friend put in. He had the percentage of sunlight and then the proportion of solar energy used. So, and this is how the proportion of solar energy used is the amount of energy I'm using out of my total energy bill. So he got all this data and calculated out, and this is for Milwaukee. So great props to Patrick for all this. I really appreciate it. He did a great job, and I'll even post up here the um, the table that he created as well. So as you see here, I kind of follow that sun for my percentage of energy used, right? My low point was in December and January of this year, where I'm only on my total energy, I'm only using 16%. I work at home. My wife and kids are always home, and so there's not really time where I'm going into an office at all to, and even if I was, right, that happens to be that my wife and kids are still at home. So that's not going to be translating into any energy kind of stoppages for me. Now, this is supplemental, and I do think that over time it's going to get much better for my energy usage and helping me pay off that solar panel even faster. So um, that was one benefit of it too. And I do other things here where I dabble in other computers, testing different things, helping set up networks for people. I've dabbled in cryptocurrency mining, all that other stuff, right? That uses more power, and I'm sure that there's different ways that I could reduce that as well. But at the same time, as different things fluctuate, different things are going to use power, and eventually, I'd like to have my system big enough to cover all my energy usage, and even in those peaks that might happen. So this is great data for understanding that. So I need about another 70% increase in this, and there's different things that I want to do, right? One, the trees are coming down, and that should produce it as well. One thing that I mentioned about all energy solar that I wish they would have did was mention that the local focus on energy rebates here in Wisconsin, they would have mentioned to me that because your energy production is going to be underneath the 80% threshold, that you're not eligible for that $500 rebate. Yeah, right, $500 is $500, right? I didn't qualify for it. It wasn't going to stop me from not getting solar, but I would have liked that information up front. So as those trees come down, though, I'm going to be in that window, and I'm going to be in that higher percentage production. So it was underneath 80%, and I'd have to get those sunlight readings again if I wanted to see where that's going to lay. But I bet you I could gain quite a bit more energy production, especially in those morning hours on those panels that aren't getting on all the panels that are all covered by trees right now. So I hope to have that data for you guys here on my next video. Now, clearing off the panels are a huge thing as well, especially in the wintertime. If it takes me a little bit, I don't mind being outside too much in the wintertime, and clean off the panels is another form of kind of exercise, right? A lot of upper body, holding a 22-foot pole and moving all that snow off of those panels, and with it works quite well. I've had a couple snows now with it to try it out, and that's a huge benefit. So as you also see here, you can see that you know August and July had a great month, and then as we go throughout the year, right, it drops. So I do expect us to get back up there. And with these trees, I think that we could get close to hitting around 1,000 kilowatt hours produced per month. So if we're up towards that, maybe we get up to maybe closer to 50% or more used percentage of energy generated that I totally need, right? And as you can see, I'm using anywhere from um, you know 1,200 kilowatt hours up to 1,500, especially when the AC is running. Now there's another thing, right? If I upgrade my air conditioner that is over 30 years old now, what is it, 32 years old, I'm sure that I'll get a huge savings on energy, right? There's other things where I'm going through and sealing my basement better and doing other stuff to and putting in new ductwork, and those little upgrades in my house should be able to help out and reduce this, right? And as I think about, my wife and I, we want to do some remodels, expand some things, and that would actually give us more roof covers to install some more panels. So this is all through, right? You see that, the We Energy base rate, and then he has on there the We Energy full load rate. So there's, We Energy has two rates, and that's my energy company that I use here. So you can kind of see this. So some of the takeaways that he even put in here, which I really appreciate, is, you know, like I said, there's a strong correlation in the percentage of my total energy produced by solar that I'm using versus the or they correlate together, I should say. The percentage of, sunlight hours versus just my energy use, right? They correlate as you see in the graph. Now, it's an average savings of $84 a month, which is not where I want to be. I want to be up towards the 115 rate. And I think with, taking out the trees and stuff like that, that would actually help a lot as well. Now, to prove just energy usage in general, I kind of told you, AC unit, kind of keeping this more energy efficient house would actually help, especially with the AC side of things in the summertime. And there's a lot of work there that I'm looking at doing. It all costs money, and so it's going to take a little bit of time, but there are things that I'm planning and hopefully going to get done here that would be a huge help. Now, we energy rates are based on March 22 rates, and they're all the same and prior to that in all these months. Now, if those rates were to all change, right, this whole thing changes quite quickly on your energy savings. So if rates wise, especially with all the economic conditions are going on, that and world events, etc., this would actually have a huge effect in a different direction. Now, he actually puts in here as well to maximize solar production beyond the placement and angle of panels to have minimal obstructions sunrise to sunset. That's one of my biggest issues. Sunrise, as you see in, let's see here if I can get, I said the 28th was a good day. 29th. So if you look at this, right, here I have a good tail on my sunset, right? That kind of cuts off as you would expect. But this stays flat, and all of a sudden it jumps once the sun's come around those trees. So I'm missing all this time in the morning. As you see here, you can kind of fill it in somewhat, and it is it needs to be improved, right? So here you can see some of it coming. If that was all filled in and that was actually full sunlight the whole time, instead of being blocked all this time in the morning, you can see I can peak all my panels, right? So this is maximum output, happens to be at 5.1 kilowatt hours on this day. And just the angle of sun, even though my system's a over 6 kilowatt hour system, sun angle has a thing to that. So as those trees were to be trimmed back, or in this case they're diseased, so cut down, that would have a lot. So as you're thinking about this and going through your own assessment, think about those things, right? If you're higher up, you have less trees, all that stuff can actually benefit you in your panels, and you don't have to work around trees, etc. But also if they get up too high and you need to clean them off, because I don't have a very high pitched roof. It's about like that. It's me going up on the roof is not a big deal. Not something I want to do in the wintertime, mind you, but it is not a big deal. So just keep that in mind as you want to go through and have solar panels installed or looking at something like this. I also don't have a battery backup system right now. If I got more panels, that's one thing I've thought about too, is getting getting a system for that. Who knows? Maybe I'll just put a dedicated system, or I talked to some of these solar companies to see what I want to do. Maybe even I've even thought about doing it myself. But All Energy Solar did a good job, and they were price competitive. Also, one other thing is applying for the solar credit to the federal government on your tax credit, right? Did that this year. I did already go through that process, and I had somebody else do it. I did not do it myself. I pay somebody to do my taxes, and they did a good job, and it was pretty straightforward. So that was good for them and good for me to get that through. So that is something else in this system. So I know that's a lot here to go through. At least you can see here kind of how it peaks, and hopefully as I go through the yearly review, get the trees down. So the yearly review might be 3 months after the 15-month review. But as I go through, hopefully that this is helping you out, and you can kind of gauge for you as well. Now, one other thing I want to mention too with the inverters. Now, I have microinverters on my system. just so you know, if they air out, the air messages in wintertime are just horrible. They do not do a good job of this. So Enphase does, and I contacted Enphase. I also contacted All Energy Solar. They were very good at explaining it. I just didn't understand fully about why you guys don't make better air messages to begin with. Part of my thing as a software engineer is I'll then come back with a question. Well, why don't you just make it better, air logging to begin with, so I understand that I don't have to contact you. But one thing is that if you have too much snow on them, they don't get enough sunlight. Especially, some of the snow is snacking up, so that these panels are supposed to get some sunlight through up to 4 inches of snow, and a lot of times I have more snow than that on here. And if they don't get enough sunlight, then the microinverters kind of go, "Hey, I'm airing out. There's not enough power here. I'm gone," right? And especially after a couple days, I think at one point all of my microinverters, so all my 18 panels were offline. And they come back online once they start getting sun, and once they start producing again, panels start producing again. It's just something to keep in check, is that if they're offline, especially in wintertime and you're up in a snowy area, it could just be the snow and not actually the the microinverters going bad or anything else. So something to keep in mind. Reaching out to Enphase, they did a great job. Reaching out to All Energy Solar, they did a great job as well. In fact, I reached out to All Energy Solar Force. They pointed me to Enphase, contacted them. They responded quite quickly. Both of them did a good job. Within a couple days, they had responses, and I appreciate that. I usually give companies a couple days to get back to me, and so far, I could go on a thing about all the good support I've been getting in at least 48 hours from many different companies. I've been shocked a little bit. I've been getting such good customer service with the companies I've all been contacting. Jeez, I'll be sure to tell you the bad ones, but man, the good ones right now. I had a couple shocks here this week, or in the last month and a half, and all over winter. So, because I contacted them in November or December, so I think it was December when I had those issues. So let me know if you have any questions on this. I'm more than willing to answer them. Again, check out the link if you're looking for an energy system, at least want a quote from All Energy Solar, and they're in your area. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that they are willing to service you. I know that they did a great job on my solar install. I really appreciate it. Some of the things I'm looking back at it, some of the things I would change, and you can just check those fingers, but one of the things I really like is that they really checked with you on making sure that you liked the position and where everything was. And looking back on that now, is that that's really a huge help, because as I'm going through and want to landscape some more, and if you remember, my whole front yard is like rock area, and I want to get that more into a flower and looking nice. I think that where we had the solar installed, the lines coming down to the pedestal of We Energies is going to look really nice and help keep it out of the way and not as obtrusive as you could have had elsewhere. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for taking the time to help support Gravel and help this channel grow. I really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Reach out to me with an email, whatever you feel like, and I'll be sure to get back to you on that. Until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.